And we're live, Campbell. Welcome back to the Daily Unpacks. We've backed up from the tour and decided after somewhat success in unpacking the day-to-day stages, we've got an overlap of a lot of one-day classics as well thrown in the mix. We've got the welter in there. We're back. We're going live every day. We've penciled in 5, but I think this is TBC, but based off the amount of Australians in the race, hopefully we have some guest appearances that might throw the schedule out a little bit. But let's aim for 5 o'clock each day.
Daylight savings doesn't help us that extra hour.
Doesn't help us at all.
Further away from Europe. So yeah, let's see how we go.
Yeah. You are the TT specialist. You are the under 23 champion of the world as of circa 2013.
2014 wasn't that long ago. No,
2014. 2014 was a while ago now.
Talk to me.
Talk to me about last night.
Well, I mean, the stage itself, in terms of the parkour, very Giro. Very Giro. I mean, added to the Giro-ness, it was in Sicily. And I mean, there was a lot of riders that were complaining about the parkour. It was too dangerous. It was too fast, this, that, and the other. Some of those things might have been true, but, it wasn't like something arose out on the road and then it suddenly became dangerous. Everyone knew that it was going to be fast. It was going to be windy. So ride to the conditions. A few guys crashed. There was a lot of wind around for the earlier riders. We heard Rowan Dennis was getting blown around big time, didn't want to take any risks. So it was about who wanted to risk it, who wanted to go on that downhill where there were speeds up to 100k an hour. Some guys were tucking in, sitting on the top tube on the TT bike with disc wheels in and gusty conditions. It was just, I mean, it was just wild. But yeah, Garner, he was just incredible. He was a hot favorite. He was never going to lose that. He said that he wasn't taking unnecessary risks. He put the 60-tooth chain ring on the front. I don't think I've ever heard of
60-11. What?
I don't think I've ever heard of the 60 on the front. And yeah, just crushed it. I mean, 22 seconds over 15 minutes. I think relatively, that's going to be the biggest winning margin in a time trial in Grand Tour recent history.
He's dominant. Same with Worlds. He's massive though. You see the size of him? He's huge.
Yeah, he's over 190 centimeters. I think it says that he's mid 70s, but looking at him, you'd have to say 80 kilos.
Just quickly before we kick on, Carolyn's posted a question on Facebook. How can you watch the race in Australia? It is a very good question. You can watch it via the GCN app. What did it cost you? $11, Campbell?
$12.99 for the month.
$12.99 for the month, which is pretty good. You can watch replays. You can watch it all, which is very nice. Otherwise, it's $60, I think, for the year. Which will get you
65 for 12 months.
Yeah. And if you pick up this app, then you've got it all because you've got SBS for everything else, all the ASO stuff, and then this app will treat you to the rest of the cycling races.
Am I correct that it's only in Europe, North America, Japan, and Australia?
The app?
Yeah. Maybe they've expanded since I watched their sort of brief on the app, but I don't think every race is available in every country. But for Australia, you can watch the Giro on the app. Real treat.
Yeah. It comes back to the challenge that cycling faces. Like they sell the rights to each country individually, which just makes consuming the sport an absolute nightmare. And of course, with the 97 different bodies, you overlay that with different country sales. Geo restrictions are hot on the app as they have to be. But with that and SBS in Australia, we're fortunate enough to have the works.
I think $65 for 12 months for pretty much full access live and on demand is really good value.
It's the
To be
start.
fair.
It's the
Yeah.
start. It's the start of something that, if I believe GCN's now owned by Discovery, which is how they get who also own Eurosport, which is how they get the capacity to own the rights, because they're uber expensive. But it's pretty. I think it's super. I think it's the start to the sport having some kind of scale in terms of consumption. Like the Giro selling the rights to pay TV maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think was one of the worst decisions the race could have made. I don't know the ins and outs of the financials, but in terms of consumption, I think the race had this cool, like, quirky Giro to it, and then they just lost all that by putting it behind a paywall. There's a couple other questions too. The Two Man's back on, and with a bit of kudos to the GCN app, and a question around, can you unsubscribe? Yes. Well, you pay the $65 for the year, or you just pay $13 for the Giro. And a good question from Isaac on something we probably should touch on. And Adam around, can you run dual screens with Van der Poel going wild last night?
Did you end up watching it?
In
Did you
the
end up seeing it?
I haven't watched the whole thing. I've watched a bit of it. In the battle to be the hottest cyclocross rider in the world.
He's just seen Wout van Aert and
things ever.
Pogacar and all these other young guys crushing it. You know what? I'm going to attack from 70k out and go and win the Big Bang Tour. Incredible.
Wild. Do you want to touch on that now? And we kick on the Giro.
Giro.
It was a bit of action last night. Like, there's a bit on in terms of the overall as well as the stage win.
Yeah. I mean, like, besides Ghana, I mean, he was always going to win. But in terms of the GC, it got shaken up in a massive way last night, and big names lost over 1 minute in 15k. And we've seen how close some Grand Tours have been in recent time. That could be the difference between winning and not. Although this Giro, it's wild, especially that last couple of days. Anything can happen. But I know I'd rather be in Geraint Thomas's position than Jakob Fuglsang.
I think we all punted on Geraint, but I think that was the clear consensus that he was going to win in the time trials. Like, he's sitting over a minute up on Fuglsang already. Like,
yeah,
I know he's. Sorry, Siri's just talking to me. I know he's probably not the out and out best climber, but he's one of the best. And if you've got a minute up, that's very, very nice. He will be sitting in his hotel now, going, "You beauty!" Like,
yeah,
I've got these boys covered. Imagine what I can do over 36 Ks.
Yates at 26 seconds from Thomas, Vlasov at 57, Kelderman 105, Vincenzo 105, Kreuzweg 121, Fuglsang 124, and Micah 138. That's probably the main GC players. So already some massive problems for some of those guys. But my boy, Yates, I tipped him. Good performance from him, only losing 26 seconds to Geraint Thomas on a super quick course. I think he can take a lot of confidence out of that. Probably the best climber here. And there's a lot of TTing still to come, but he can be pretty happy with that performance.
Yeah. You think, you would say he's the best climber here, but it's the same deal. If he was in this situation where Fuglsang was at a minute and a bit down, like, don't know if he's that good.
It was just a weird day. I mean, like, Dennis went off early, struggled in the conditions, and then when Fuglsang and Vincenzo were going off later in the day, were the conditions a lot worse again? Like, I mean, to lose a minute to Yates for Fuglsang and Kreuzweg, it seems a bit off. Like, there must have been something more to it. Anyway.
But can it change that much?
Well, I don't know. I got no idea. We'll have to ask someone that was there, but it just looked awfully blustery and just gusty all day. And something we haven't touched on, Lopez, his crash.
Oh, yeah. His time trialing nightmares just continue.
I mean, if he
He's
didn't hate
time trialed.
TTs enough after the Tour
Yeah,
de France,
he's time trialed
um,
himself off the podium at the Tour de France, and then he's backed up. The next race or if you don't include the last stage of the tour, the next real race he's done, he is binded on the TT bike on a flat section of road, missing the bars. Oh dear. That's like, so
it's
he'd
just
think
so
about,
unlucky.
I just think about like, he'd be tired. He'd be tired from the stress and the obviously just racing the tour itself, the mental strain, and then throwing an unnecessary crash in like that must be infuriating.
Well, I think it was quite like he didn't break anything, but I think he had a laceration quite close to a major artery, which he had to get surgery on. Obviously, didn't finish. He'll be heading back home, so wherever he lives, Switzerland, or maybe just going back to South America completely, shutting it down for the rest of the year after that. But I mean, the roads were super bumpy. We heard a lot of people complaining about that, but then when you know the conditions are like that, you've just got to be extra careful. And in the TT bike, they're just made for going dead straight on flat roads with no obstacles, and you really do feel the bumps and everything along the way. And when you're trying to get out of the bars, you're like in a super precarious position. One hand on the TT bar, and then any sort of jolt, it can go pear shaped. And sadly, that's what happened for Lopez. And I mean, doing the Tour de France and then coming and doing the Giro, that just sounds horrible. I think there was 12 or 14 people backing it up. He was the only real GC guy, so I'm sure just quietly he's pretty happy to be not doing the rest of the Giro.
Yeah. Yeah. Putting an asterisk that I've never done a Grand Tour or anything close to a Grand Tour, but you must just back up. You must come out of it, just especially as a GC rider, just mentally ruined.
Yeah.
Just like so much stress and pressure, and always got to be on the ball, always boxing on for 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can go into some one-day races, which is normal after the Tour de France. People go into San Sebastian the weekend after, and we saw it with Worlds and Flèche Wallonne. You can do one-day races. You can be focused for one day and carry over form, but to bounce straight back into another 3-week race with all that mental stress, you can see why only there's a handful of guys that are doing it.
Let's continue on the GC front. Interesting with Team Lotto Jumbo, Chris Harper did a pretty handy TT.
There was a lot of weird kind of results. Yeah.
Harper's at a minute down. And if you scroll down to wherever Kreiswijk is, can't find him now.
He's about 140.
144. So he's got 42 seconds on his teammate. Like, I know it's probably a bit of a wild, but 42 seconds is a lot of time, Campbell. If you're going to say that Chris Harper,
that they're going to change plans and go for Harper, give me a spell.
I'm not going to say they're going to change plans, but I'm going to say that that's in their back of their mind as a bit of an emergency. If this goes pear-shaped, that Chris Harper is there. He's not off the mark.
Yeah, it's true. He's not. He's 4 seconds ahead of Kreiswijk currently.
So if he's going to put, say, at least 30 seconds into him at every time trial, and there's 3 time trials, like.
Yeah, but what you also need to remember is Tobias Foss, who was 5th on the stage last night, also from Jumbo Visma, won Tour of l'Avenir last year. So he's probably going to be their first emergency over Harper.
I take that back, but I was flying the Australian flag.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
I mean?
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Harper have a little bit of flexibility and license, but I still think it's all for Kreiswijk. And yeah, I mean, Tobias Foss won Tour of l'Avenir, and also Almeida was 2nd last night. Pretty good climber. And then can go into like a 57k an hour average TT. Like back to what I was saying earlier, were they just roaring tailwinds for these blokes?
I don't know.
don't know.
Well, hopefully get a writer on which can give us some intel into that. Ben O'Connor too, very solid TT, a minute down.
Same as Miles. Miles was a top 10. We talked about
Miles
him in the
really solid, yeah. Ninth,
yeah,
for Miles. Happy 14th, throwing down as 15th. There's Australians everywhere. Chris Hamilton put in a good time too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
The only other thing that I thought was interesting, I was read a quote from Geraint. He was saying that they hadn't even seen the course before. Well, they'd seen the course, but he couldn't actually ride it before the stage properly. So they shut the roads in the morning, but any days before he couldn't ride it because it was just wild, just traffic everywhere.
It's the Wild West down there,
like
mate.
it is road country down there. Yeah.
Oofed. It just, yeah. I mean, like the riders were saying, roads were in awful condition, a little bit greasy. Just fans on the side of the road, sans mask. It's just the Wild West, Sicily.
Isaac makes a good point too on YouTube that Rick Zabel's in the climber's jersey, which is full Giro spec.
I mean, it is. It was a KOM, a minute 30 out of the hole, so it was perfect for the sprinters. If he wanted to target it, clearly that's what Zabel did, and he's found himself in a jersey, and we're now talking about it. So hats off to him. He's probably going to be. What's his contract situation for next year? Zabel. Where are we?
2022. He's got a contract with Startup Nation.
Yep.
How much value does he get out of his last name?
Lots of value. Yep.
How many dollars do you reckon? Or do you reckon it's just recognition?
I'm not sure whether it's dollars. It's probably just job security, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing, talking of like Giro specs, the UCI spec action of the day was them charging EF Education a fine for changing their kit or something too late in the piece. So the whole team got fined.
How many Swiss francs?
I couldn't find an actual number, but there was a tweet just stating obviously how much of a joke that is and how cowboy the UCI is in terms of their priorities are obviously raising a bit of revenue over anything that improves the sport, anything that ensures rider safety, anything.
Yeah, don't worry about the 100k an hour speeds in the time trial, but we're going to make sure that we tax a team for a late jersey change. Good to see the priorities are in place.
Do you reckon they just sit back in head office and finish the day going, "You beauty, we got 5,000 Swiss francs coming in from Team EF. We're making a difference here. We are improving the sport."
I don't know. It's clearly haven't got their priorities straight, but always a talking point.
Anything else from the TT?
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered it all. I think a lot of the riders would just be happy to see the back of that, really. They can move on.
Imagine if it was wet.
No, thanks.
Did you pick up in that, so that that corner that Carpenart's binned on, the like right hander?
I haven't seen any footage of the Carpenart's crash. Was it the same one that Hager came unstuck?
Same one that Hager,
yeah.
Everyone seemed to kept coming. There was that right hander and that left hander, and everyone kept coming unstuck.
Well, that right hander, that was the quickest part. You're coming in there,
coming in off 100 clicks.
You could be coming in at 100k an hour, and that corner comes up a lot quicker at 100k an hour than does at 80 on a TT bike as well. A little bit harder to pull up, so you can see why a few people were having problems there. But
have you ever done 100k on a TT bike?
No. I think I might have only done 100k once or twice
on a road bike.
Yeah,
imagine doing
too quick.
Yeah, Imagine if you didn't have, like, I guess now they've got disc brakes, but imagine like 5 years ago when TT bike brakes were awfully questionable.
Well, there's not there was some guys I saw. I mean, Garner didn't have disc brakes on last night.
Mm.
It seems like a big aerodynamic disadvantage to have disc brakes, but if the manufacturers are paying the bills, then you put the disc brakes on.
Mm. Isaac makes a good point too. Imagine if their socks were too high, they would have been banned from the sport.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
someone got snipped for too high socks yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was someone.
Anyway, that's enough on the UCI saving lives. That's all I've got, I think.
Tonight, mate.
Tomorrow?
Tonight.
But nothing else on last night.
No. There's no messing around with this Giro. I mean, TT today, last night, tonight, nice little stage actually, 149. A little bit of an easing in, but the finale, it's quite an interesting one. 3.7k climb at an average of 5.2% brings a lot of people into the equation, I think.
Yeah. The kind of stage that most people think they can win.
Pretty much.
There's like everyone puts
for everyone.
Yeah. Sagan thinks he can win, but also
Vincenzo thinks he can go for an early sort of move. But for me, I think based off what he did at the World Championships, Michael Matthews has probably got to be the favourite here.
Yeah. Yep.
If Sunweb choose to go down that route of keeping it together for a sprint, I think they will. I think it might just be a bit too hard for Peter Sagan based off his condition at the Tour de France. We were talking earlier that it was probably Demars, the quickest guy here. You'd think, again, too hard for him, but not hard enough to make a big difference for the GC guys to really, really have a crack. But that's just how I see it. The other possibilities, like a Tony Gallopin kind of launcher.
Someone to go from the bottom. Yeah.
But I am going to go. I'm going to go with Michael Matthews. Michael Matthews tonight, based off of his World Championships condition.
Yeah. And they're going to carry a lot of speed. Everyone's going to be so interested. I think, as Peter says on Facebook, I think Matthews is the man. Yeah. He was climbing so well at Worlds.
Yeah.
Like, for a guy that quick, he was there very late in the piece.
And it's not like there's a few. I mean, there's a Cat 4, there's a few little bumps earlier in the stage. Breakaway will get away there, but it's not like there's anything really, in the last 30, 40k, a few climbs that can break it up. There's going to be a big peloton heading into the bottom of that climb. A lot of teammates to keep things together. So I think it's going to be quite quick up that climb. If any of those Gallopin kind of riders do get away, there'll be enough teammates to keep it together. So I think it's going to be that sort of sprint. I'm just trying to see if there's anyone else of that kind of makeup a la Matthews is going to be there. I mean, we talked about Sagan, maybe.
He wasn't, his tour form doesn't give you a heap of confidence.
Not really. Not enough. Simon Clark will probably rate himself for a top 10.
Oh, I think he's a shoo-in for a top 10. But could he go? What does Simon do here, though? Like, he's not going to out-sprint Bling.
No, he's not.
So he's got to go from the bottom.
Who could go out is probably Diego Ulissi from UAE, depending on what kind of condition he's in. He's another one that likes this kind of finish. I think he's won at Sterling in the TDU, similar-ish, maybe a bit shorter, but yeah, it should be an exciting finale, that's for sure.
Gaviria, bit hard, maybe. It's really hard. It's really hard to tell. Matthews is an out-and-out favourite.
Yeah.
Haas.
Yep. What sort of shape is Hassy in? You never know. Top form, Nathan Haas. Yeah, he'll be in the mix. But off of his TT, he was something must have gone wrong, or he just wasn't interested at all. Just sitting up. getting through the stage. And I did notice, actually, quickly just touching back on last night, someone did get time cut.
Really?
I'm guessing there was a crash and he didn't quite get on with it quick enough. But yeah. Anyway, looking forward to tonight.
Is it just one more thing on tonight? Is it a straight-ish run-in, or is it technical?
Well, Alex, this is for you to get in touch with the race organisation and get us a race book delivered.
It'd be so good to
next
have a
year.
race book. Yeah.
And that can be your job.
Because that just throws, if it's wildly technical, that throws all Italian teams into the mix that are willing to die to win this bike race.
That's the thing. We can just see the map of the full stage, and it doesn't really give you the ins and outs of the last 5K, because it could be twisty, could be narrow, a bit of road furniture. I mean, and if it's wet, these roads in the south of Italy just like icy, like skating on ice. So hopefully, for everyone's sake, it's not wet, because that would just be horrible.
Yeah. As it's a COVID season, Liège Bastogne Liège is also on tonight.
Yep. Julian in the bands debuting. Yep. Looking forward to that. You think
Hershey off a win
for the big one? Yeah, Hershey as well. In the big races, the big classics, you want to see him don the white Bibniks.
You reckon that's his go ahead? Like, if it's a 1-day classic, you can wear, but the tour he's got to put the black nicks on.
Nah, maybe even the tour's fine. It's the big races, the grandies and the big classics, he can wear white nicks.
Yeah. But when he's racing in China in October, not so much.
Get the black ones on.
Get the black nicks on. Yeah, I don't mind that. Especially the 1-days. And especially because it's Julian.
Yep. Baller.
Is there much really to touch on? I think Julian's going to win if Hershey doesn't beat him.
Yeah, it'll be those two, you think.
Kwiatkowski, but he wasn't super duper at Worlds. He was good. Greg Van Avermaet to save CCC's.
Yeah, they're wrapping it up. Truly been in the finale. Sharkman and Woods, I guess, as well. He was good. And then, I mean, the boys from the Tour de France are going to be there as well. Port, Pogačar, Roglic, and also Matt Chu van der Poel.
It's going to be a good race. It's going to be a good evening. Nate on Facebook. Good start to the Grand Tour for Harper. I was thinking on today's potty, it would be a good interview post Giro, first year World Tour, COVID, yada yada. Yep, 100%. Be good to have him in person if we ever return to person, and it'd also be good to have him on one of these. So, just a bit of an update on this. We're at 5:00 today, but it's currently 8:30 in Italy. Daylight savings doesn't help us at all. So we're trying to do some recce on what their schedule actually looks like, and if we could have someone join us in the morning for a 10, 20-minute chat, which would be ideal. So Harper, potentially, if you're listening, get on board. See you tomorrow.
Yep. 5:00 tomorrow.
5:00 tomorrow, pending athlete involvement.
Yep.
Cool.
Beauty.
Thanks, Campbell.
Thanks for listening.